Daf Yud Ches Amud Aleph will begin Daf Yud Zayin Amud Beis, 6 lines from the bottom. We learned previously that Rabbi Yehuda initially said that liquids and mashkim could be matama, even kelim midoraisa, but we saw that he was chayzer. He retracted from that. That we saw that he was chayzer. Is that dafka from kelim, that the mashkim cannot be matama kelim utensils midoraisa avul be'oichlem, aval be'oichlem as far as food is concerned. Ki Rabbi Yossi Rav Shimon Svirle, does he hold like Rabbi Yossi Rav Shimon that said that mashkim could be matama oichlem midoraisa? Aydil legame hadr be, or maybe we say he retracted completely. Ki Rav Meir. And he holds like Ramer that midaraisa it cannot be matama other things at all, even eichlim. Omer Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Tashma. Let's bring a ride from the following. Parash shas mechatas. If a cow drank the mechatas, the water that was mixed with the ash of the paraduma. The water of the mechatas is an exception to most liquids, to other liquids, and the water of the mechatas is a avhatuma. That water is an avhatuma, and it can be metame oichlem mashkim and autumn kelim as well. However, if a para drank from it, now it's in its intestines besaratami. If it was shechted, now that it's basar, when it's alive, it can't be mekabel tuma. But if it was shechted, now it's meat. It could be mekabel tuma. If the water is still intact, it's in its intestines, meaning if it's within 24 hours of drinking the water, then basara tame. The basar is tame. The basar, it's now a food. It came into contact with the water. It's tame. Rabbi Yehuda says, bottle b'meyal. He says, no, it's bottle. It's nullified in the meyayim. That's what Rabbi Yehuda says. Now, if you would say that Rabbi Yehuda was only chayzer from kelim, and he says that the mashka which is tame can not be metame kelim, but it could be metame oichlem. If that's the case, avol ba'oichlem. But as far as food is concerned, Rabbi Yossi Rav Shimon Svirle, he holds like them that it could be metame the midoraisa. Amai batlo b'me'al legamai. Why should Rabbi Yehuda say that it's completely bottled, that it's nullified? Even though the water of the mechatas cannot be matama tuma chamura, it loses its status as an avatuma to be matama adam v'kelim. It doesn't have the tuma chamura. It lost that status. Why does it lose that status? Because once the cow drank this water, it's not roy anymore to be mechatas. As Taisus explains, because mechatas needs constant shimur. It needs guarding. This is out of sight. It's out of a person's ability to be mishamrit. It loses its status as mechatas because it is now not been mishumar. It's not been guarded. So even though we would say that it lost its status as an avatuma and it can't be matama to machamura, but if Rabbi Yehuda holds that mashkim could be matama, midoraisa oichlem mashkim, amai bottle me'elegame nehida to machamura loy matama to makala. Mia nitama, let it be matama to makala. Meaning, even though it's not an avatuma, but the water of the mechatas, when it was an avatuma, so to speak, was matama itself. Even if it lost its status as an avatuma, it still should be a rishon latuma. And if a rishon latuma, if mashkin which a rishon could be matama oichlem min Torah, why should you not say that it's matama the basar? Doesn't that show you that it is not mitama? It's not mitama midoraisa when Rabbi Yehuda is chayzer and he says, therefore mashkim cannot not only not be mitama kelim, it can't even mitama basar. Because if it would be, then why should Rabbi Yehuda say that it's bottle? It must be that it's not mitama midoraisa, it's only mitama the rabbanon. And why is it now bottle me'yan? It's not even mitama the rabbanon, as Rashi explains, because this is a milsa leishchicha. It's a very uncommon occurrence for the parent to drink the mechata, so they weren't geyser in this case. So doesn't that show you that he was chayzer and it's not even mitama oichlin? Gemara says no. My bottle me'yan nami. What does it mean bottle? It doesn't mean completely bottle. What it means is bottle mituma chamura. it means it doesn't have the tuma chamura, aval tuma kala metama, but it still is metama the tuma kala. It is, the basar is tame. For example, how can you say that? Michlav the Tanakama Sava Tuma Chamura Nami Matama. You mean to say, well, Rav Yehuda is arguing on the Tanakama, and he's Mekel. The Tanakama is Machmer. Now, if you're going to say that Rav Yehuda is Moida that it's Matama Tuma Kala, that must mean that the Tanakama says it's Matama Tuma Chamura. How can that be? How can you say that the water is an Avatuma, it still can be Matamas Mechatas, Habasora Tomik Doni? It says Besora Tame, which means that Basar is Tame, and not the Kalim. It can't be Matama Kalim, it can only be Matama Basar. Mora says no. Kula Rabbi Yehuda. It's all Rabbi Yehuda. It's not a machlekes here. And words are missing. Parasha shalsa mechata. So the para drank the mechata. The bisara tame. The basar is tame. But medvar mamurim. What does that say? That it's tame. That the water can be metame. It can be tame tumakala. It can only be metame tumakala. Aval tumachamura loy. But it can't be Matama Chamura. It loses its status as an Avatum, and it cannot be Matama on Mikhail. Why is that? She Rabbi Yehuda Aimer Bottle B'Meya. Because Rabbi Yehuda says it's Bottle B'Meya, and therefore it cannot be Matama the Tuma Chamura anymore. But in Echanami, Rabbi Yehuda says it still could be Matama the Tuma Kala, because Mashkim, perhaps we would say Rabbi Yehuda is still says that maintains that mashka could be matama oichlim midaraisa. Another pshat is Rav Ashi Amar lo elam batel me'el legamri. It holds that it's batel me'el legamri. It's completely batel, and therefore it can't be matama even the boss. If he holds that mashka could be matama oichlim midaraisa, why is it not matama? Mishum dahavle mashka saruach. Because it's already mashka saruach. It's in the intestines of the animal. It's not considered anymore to be a mashka. It's a mashka saruach. It's putrid. It's now spoiled. So it doesn't have the ability to be matam. Maybe I'll tell you that water, which is roy l'shtia, that it is matama eichlem edaraisa. But over here, this is saruach, so it's not matama. And according to this, therefore, the machlekes is, according to Rav Ashi, there is a machlekes. It's not chasura mechzer. There is a machlekes. The Tanakama holds, since to begin with it wasn't saruach, and it had the ability to be matama. Beforehand, it doesn't lose that status. Well, Rabbi Yehuda says, even though it wasn't saruach beforehand, but now it is saruach, it cannot be matama the basar anymore. So therefore, we have no raya to whether Rabbi Yehuda is chayzer. Yes, he's chayzer as far as a mashka not being matama kelim b'daraisa, but as far as oichlim, we have no raya. The Gemara continues, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon, oimrim la'oichlim tmeim la'kelim tahirim. Their sheet is that if you have a sophic mashka that was tame. As far as being matama food, it's matama. It could be machmer. We say matama. Why? Because they say that mashkim to matama oichlim is a daraisa, but for kelim they're tahirim. If it's a sophic, they're tahirim because mashka is not matama kelim daraisa, only midrabanan. Omer Rabba bar Rabbi Chana Omer Rabbi Shlokish Rabbi Yosi b'shitas Rabbi Kiva Rabbi Amar. Rabbi Yosi was a Talmud of Rabbi Kiva, and he darshened in a similar fashion as Rabbi Kiva's Rabbi. The darsh yitma yitamei. He darshes the word yitma that's said in the Torah as yitamei. Not only that it is tamei, but it is metama others as well. The Torah says that if there's a sheretz that falls into a kli cheres. So it says that if it falls into the kli, v'chol kli cheres asher yipol mehem al tzeicha, kol asher b'tzeicha yitma v'oisa tishbayru. Mikol ha'oichla asher yochel asher yavar lav ma'im yitma. So it says whatever food, it says yitma. Now it doesn't say tome. It says yitma v'chol mashka asher yishalsa, and any food or drink which is potable, like we said before, that if it's saruach, it's not. But chol mashka asher yishalsa, that people drink, v'chol kli yitma. So that type of water that's in the kli, it says yitma. Again, it doesn't say yitame. It doesn't say tome, rather. It doesn't say tome, it says yitma. So why does it use the lotion of yitma instead of tome? So this now we learned in the Mishnah, Boy Bayom Darsh Rabbi Kiva that day. What is Boy Bayom, the day that Rabbi Lazar ben Azar assumed the Nesias? They darshan on that day many drushes. One of the drushes that they darshan is v'chol kli cheretz asher yipol mehem, any kli cheretz where a sheretz falls into the interior of the kli cheretz. So it says yitma. Eino omer tome. It doesn't say tome ela yitma. Why does it say yitma? To teach you yitama achirim, that it's matama others. That not only is it tame, but it's matama others as well. So Rabbi Kiva darshan limit al kikar sheni shaisa shlishi b'chulin. So he held that you can have even a shlishi b'chulin. Why is that? Because it says whatever is in the kli cheres, any food that's in the kli cheres is yitma. Now a sheretz falls into the kli cheres, so therefore the kli cheres is a rishon. Kli cheres is a rishon. The food is a sheni. Now it doesn't say tame, it says yitma, which we darshan yitame. So that food which is a sheni is matama something else. So therefore that food was a, now it doesn't say kodshim, it doesn't say truma. So Rabbi Kiva says therefore it means even by chulin. Therefore that food which is a sheni, which is in the kli cheres is a sheni, can be matama even chulin, and you can make even a shlishi by chulin, because the food itself is a sheni, and it makes a shlishi. Now Rashi proves that the food is a sheni. It's not a rishon. We don't look at the food in the kli cheres like the kli cheres, like the whole airspace is filled with tumah, and as if the sheretz touch the food, and the food is a rishon. Because if that was the case, it wouldn't only be oichlim that are in the kli cheres, it would be even kalim. Must be that the sheretz is, even though it's in the airspace in the interior of the kli cheres, it's metama the kli cheres to make the kli cheres a rishon. The food is a sheni. Now it's dafka food which is tame, not a kli keli, because a kli is not makabel tuma from a rishon. The kli cheres is a rishon. A kli in the kli cheres would not be makabel tuma. A kli is not makabel tuma from a rishon, only from an av. Therefore, the food that's inside is a sheni. And now it says yitma. It doesn't say tome. That means that it can be matama something else. Rabbi Kiva held. Therefore, you can make even a shlishi by chulin. So similarly, over here, his Talmud also darshans yitma, and Rav Yossi darshans that it says yitma, which we darshan yitame. It can make other things tame. Any liquid that's in the kli, it says yitma. Also, we darshan yitame. It will make others tame. That means that the liquid that's in the kli cheres could be matame. Midaraisa is matame food. If it touches food, it makes it tame. How do you know that it's matama oichlin? Maybe it's even matama other liquids. Amud loikach. He said, no, that's not what it means. My loikach. We don't find tuma. We don't find that something which is tome makes the something of its own nature, something that is like itself, tome. As the Gemara will explain, the Torah doesn't say yitameh. Why doesn't it say clearly yitameh? It's to tell you that it itself is tome, and it cannot be matame. Now we know we darshan yitameh that it could be matame. What does it mean? It is tome. It cannot be matame, something like itself. So a food cannot be matama food. So over here where we darshan that the liquids is yitma yitameh, it is matama something. Similarly, it's not the liquid is being matama a liquid. It's a liquid is being matama an oichel, not a liquid. So we see Rav Yossi says that min Torah a liquid can be matama an oichel. How we know that it's not matama keli, we'll see shortly. Ravina Amar Migufa de Kron, Namilomet Samatzis Amra. You can't say, even with the pasuk itself, you can't say that Yitama Latama Tumas Mashkim. That what it means is Yitame, that means to be mashke, that the liquid is matama another liquid. Disal Gadaita Yitma, the Sefer Tamatumas Mashkin, because if you would think that what it means over here, that any mashka that's in the Kli Cheres, Yitma, Yitamei, to matama another liquid, Yitma the Reisha, Nami Latamatumas Mashkin. Well, the Yitma and the Reisha, it says, Mikolo Eichar Asher Yovel Maim. It says any food that's in the Kli Cheres, it says Yitma, which we darshan Yitamei. Now over there, it doesn't mean that a food can be matama food, because it says Tomehu. It says here it is Tome. Then it means to say that the food is not matama a food. So when it says yitma, which we dash yitamei legabe, the food that's in the Kli Cheres, it means it can be matama something else. It can be matama mashke. So if that means that it's matama mashke, now if the seifa by the liquid in the Kli is also to be matama mashke, then why do I need both? Because so these are Gadaita, Yitma, the Sefer the Tamatumas Mashkin, Yitma the Reisha, Namatamus Mashkin, Narvinim Nachavina. It should combine it and say, Why does it say Yitma twice? Trey Yitma Lamali, Ela Yitma the Reisha the Tamatumas Mashkin, Yitma the Sefer the Tamatumas Oichlim. So therefore you see that the food that's in the Kli Cheres, that the sheretz came in the Kli Cheres food over there, Yitma, it's Tame, and it can also be Matama. The food is Matama, Mashkin. Then the Sefer that says that there's a Mashkin in the Kli Cheres, that it's also Yitma. Not only is it Tame, it's Tama something else. What is that? It's Matama Oichlim. So you see that in Hatayr they hold that the Mashke could be Matama Oichlim. Yes, you've shown that the mashka which becomes tame, Rav Yossi holds it can be matama oichlim food midoraisa, but where do you see that's not matama kelim? Maybe it could also be matama kelim. Where it says v'lav kal v'chaimer, it's in a kal v'chaimer. Uma kli shematama mashka, a kli is matama mashka. The Torah says you have a Kli Cheres, the sheretz falls into it. It's matama the liquids that are inside, in that case, matama, but nevertheless, ain't matama kli, but the kli cannot be matama kli. Mashka, boy machmas kli, the mashka, which only became tome as a result of the kli, in additionally tamas a kalim, certainly it can't be matama the kalim. Ma, the kali, which is tome, can't be matama kli, it can be matama mashka, it's not matama kli. The mashka, which derived its tuma only from the kli, certainly it's not matama kli. So in additionally, tamas akil. In fact, the Gemara ve'ema kiloi matama. Yes, this is true, but ve'ema maybe kiloi matama mashka maboy machmas kli. Maybe that's only where the liquid, the beverage that became tame, only when it became tame as a result of the kli. Yes, there it can't be matama kli. But if the liquid came into direct contact with the sheretz, it derived its tumah not from a kli, it derived the tumah from a sheretz. Maybe I should say that in that case the mashke is matama kli. Gemara says mashke maboy machma sheretz miksiva. The Torah doesn't talk about the case where the mashke became tome directly from the sheretz. It didn't mention that case. It mentioned the case where it was in a Kli Cheres and it became tome as a result from the kli. So, lav mikal v'chaymer kasi, isn't it learned out from mikal v'chaymer? Uma mashkin aboy machmas kli matamin. This that the sheretz is matam of the kli, we learn it from a kal v'chaymer. Ma mashkin aboy machmas kli matamin. The mashka that became tome as a result of the kli, they were in a kli where the sheretz was in the kli. Mashkin aboy machmas sheretz like kol shekain. So there, in the case where the mashkin was on machmas kli matamin, they become tome as a result of being in the kli where the sheretz was. So kal v'chaymer that they should be tame becomes in direct contact with the sheretz. We learn out that the mashka that comes into contact with the sheretz is tame is a kal v'chaymer. The Torah says the case where the mashka is in the kli. So the mashka is in a kli where the sheretz is in the kli. So the mashka became tame as a result of being in a kli that was tame from a sheretz. Kal v'chaymer that it's tame as a result of direct contact with the sheretz. So, but however, if that's the case, since it's only derived from the case of the mashka that's in a kli that became tome from a kli that became tome from the sheretz, daya lava minadin luis kenoda. You would say daya, and you say that this is you can't learn more from the source case itself. You'd say daya. And just like the case where the mashke that became tome from the kli, as we proved from the Kal V'chomer, that mashke cannot be matama kli. So you can't learn out more from the case of the mashke that became tome from the sheretz that it could be matama kli, because the case of the mashke that became tome from the sheretz is only derived from the case of a mashke that became tome from the kli. And if a mashke that became tome from a kli cannot be matama kli, a mashke that became tome from a sheretz cannot be matama kli. Therefore, that's Rav Yosef's shita that the mashke that became tome could be matama oichlim, but could not be matama kelim.